Live on Vimeo, Facebook, LinkedIn, all sorts of places. We should be on the Fireside Tattoo Network. Thank you, Jake.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Let's check. I'm going to check and make sure we're on Fireside Tattoo Network. Let's see.
Well, in the meantime, welcome to, this is Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo Network, and this is the Tattoo Weekly. We are sadly missing Lauren. She's at the Philadelphia Tattoo Convention. They were having a great time all weekend, but we'll have to hear about it next week. You can, as I was saying earlier, you can find this on the YouTubes or in the podcast channels, the app stores, Reinventing the Tattoo app. Yeah, and as Jake was saying earlier, actually, very soon on Roku. I couldn't help myself. I was like saying, no way, we're not talking about it.
No, I don't want to talk about it. I can't do it. I can't not do it. Yeah, that's exciting. You know, it's funny how I think we talked a little bit last week about about how big of a deal it was to be on TV when you were a kid. Like you would look for yourself in the crowd. I know you weren't a sports fan, but I was at basketball games and I would look for myself in the crowd. I would go home and like watch the game later and say, am I on TV? And then now it's like, you could just be on TV. It's not even a big deal anymore.
You know, it's somehow I still get a little nervous though. But yeah, to your point, it isn't quite like we're able to create the gatekeeping. You know, it was as of, before there was, clear gatekeepers. I do want to let people know we have Gene Coffey is going to be beaming in pretty soon. So we do have a special guest this week. Gene's been tattooing for a very long time. I think I met him at the Richmond Tattoo Convention.
Nice. Yeah, I've never met him. I'm excited. I looked at some of his work when you shared his info earlier, and I'm excited to meet a new tattooer. Got a couple of folks, got a handful of folks on the Fireside channel. We had 7 and we just lost 3 of them. That's always so much fun to see. Like I do that too. I pop on people's channel. I'm like, what are they doing? Oh, they're just talking, not tattooing.
Well, let me show off some of these tattoos in real quick, and we'll bring them back on. But I do often find that tattoos, the pretty pictures keep people.
Right.
And so this is some of Gene's work. He'll be coming up later.
Yeah, he's doing really soft kind of, I hate the term watercolor tattoos, but kind of soft painterly style tattooing, which I'm excited to hear his kind of his background and how he ended up doing that. It's really what, in my mind, one of the trickier styles of tattooing to pull off because the tendency with watercolor tattoos, and I'm sure we can get into it when he's on the show, is to kind of wash things into the skin, which obviously looks sketchy. It looks fine on watercolor paper. It looks very sketchy in tattooing if you're not careful. So you really have to be deliberate about getting that effect without actually washing it in the skin, So
it's funny, speaking of the being on the TV and the Roku, it's like, now we have to get our production wicked tight. And then we were working up until 15 minutes before this. Right. Lauren's like, sorry, I'm at the convention. I don't know what you expect. But I mean, if anybody has any topics that they would like to discuss in particular, I have some videos to fire up before the interview. But also let us know where you're beaming in from and tag a friend.
Paul Berry. Paul Berry just did. He said, how's it going from Southeast Missouri? Southeast Missouri isn't too far from me. What Paul, type in and let us know what your what the town is called. I pass through there fairly regularly. And then David Mariscal, am I pronouncing that? Mariscal said, always great information in the industry. Thanks so much. We try not to put out fluff as often as we can. But we also ramble a lot, so I'm sure there's plenty of fluff.
I could fire up, speaking of pretty pictures, I've got 2 minutes of this video that I made yesterday for this tattooer, Kama. He's awesome. And that'll give us a little bit of time to, like I said, we could chat a little bit about his tattoos.
Yeah. Oh, Paul Berry's from Poplar Bluff, Missouri. That's the home of Tyler Hansbrough. You don't know Tyler Hansbrough because you're not a sports fan, but he's one of the great college basketball players of all time. I've passed through Poplar Bluff before.
It's closer. I mean, the convention is coming up down there too, isn't it? The Biloxi,
No, he's in Missouri, not in. That's Mississippi.
Sorry, I'm getting myself mixed up. So okay, and talking about, let's head over to South Korea.
All right, perfect.
And so this is Kama here. It's still illegal to tattoo in
Oh, in South Korea, yeah. Maybe we may have had a quick discussion about combo before. Wow, that's really interesting.
You know, I love the difference in rendering, like the styles right there, right? That's like nice
Yeah.
soft black and gray, or like even the metallic black and gray, and then the face, you know, the text, very classy. I
That
probably
kind of, yeah, that combination, like combining styles is becoming particularly, you know, with artists that are not from America. I see this combination of styles where it's like, you know, like pop art and realism and, you know, a point like dot work and, you know, all that kind of stuff kind of combined really well into a single tattoo. There's someone on Instagram called Mash, MASHKOW tattoos or something like that, who does kind of color versions. Right, this is beautiful. It's really, really nice. Kind of color versions of this type of work, and they've really branded themselves super well on Instagram. Wow, that's nice.
Yeah, that's fun stuff.
Yeah. And you're doing an interview with Kama soon?
Yeah, well, we already did one. We need to get it interpreted, and so we have it about half interpreted. And part of me just wants to really, you know, get the videos out and make the images.
Wait,
what
do you mean by interpreted? Does he speak any English, or what did you have to?
No, I had a in-time interpreter to translate the questions. Oh. And then I would be able to get the gist of the answers back. And so I could do follow-up questions, but we still need to get like the full, you know, the 20-minute, like, so the deep dive questions, we still need to get interpreted because I don't know the answers. Look at this stuff. Yeah. I love,
so good.
Again, the difference between like where the straight lines are, the bricks and the curved lines and the circle. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Their attitude, it's fun though, because even though it's a different language, you could still kind of figure people's energies and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it was definitely not it's not trivial. It's definitely the pacing changes, and but it's definitely worth it. Oh, Jeremy Burt up here from Exeter, New Hampshire. He says yo in one of the comment rooms.
Oh yeah. I've got a little basketball conversation going over here on the YouTube side now. Nice. The guy I was talking about went to school with Tyler Hansbrough. Paul Berry went to school with Tyler Hansbrough, and he just asked, "How do I set up a tattoo session with you? I love your work." I get that a lot on YouTube, and I really should make a channel. The best thing is to email Allie at Fireside Tattoo, ALIE, that's my assistant, at firesidetattoo.com, and she can get you set up on the list. Well, the way that I've been working, and we've had a lot of conversations about this with different artists, and I love to learn how other artists are handling booking. But the way that I've been doing it is just collecting information from people. I've got a short little form to see what they're looking for, and then I try to see if it fits the direction I'm trying to take my work. And if not, I have Allie kind of send the person to someone else that I think would do a good job rather than just turning them away. And if so, then we'll give a frame of when, you know, we could get started and get a consultation booked. I found that's the best way to do it. I try not to overwhelm myself with projects. So I'll take on like maybe 10 or 12 at a time, hopefully with people who are able to work consistently. That's the biggest thing with only taking on 10 or 12 projects. You have to have people who can get in there at least every 6 weeks or so. But so far so good. I've been pretty lucky with that. Outside of that, the easiest way to get tattooed, if it's a one shot kind of thing, is to find me at a convention, because I typically do tattoos at conventions that I wouldn't do at the home studio. It's just I'm fine with doing smaller single, you know, one shot pieces at different shows. So and Gabe has been helping me to organize my online or the Fireside kind of library, and I'm hoping as part of this project I can create a little landing page for myself that shows where I'm going to be, and, you know, have the contact form embedded into it. Maybe we could add that to our to-do list if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. And where are you So right now it's February 2022. Where are you headed this year?
February 28th. My next stop is in, I'm teaching a 2-day workshop in 2 weeks, March 14th and 15th, I believe, in Asheville, North Carolina, but I won't be tattooing there. Shortly after that is Space City Tattoo Expo in Huntsville. Unfortunately, I'm already booked for that one. But that's a great show if anyone's in the, you know, Southeast and wants to make the trip to Huntsville. I always love meeting Fireside viewers.
Let me fire up. Let's stay on that a little bit, because you've done a bunch of interviews at Space City, right?
With Space City, it's one of those shows that we were just kind of lucky to find each other. They reached out really early on with Fireside. They were the first show to ever reach out to me and ask, want to like trade a booth in exchange for podcasting. And so I did that. We didn't have a big following at all at that point. And I just kind of like fell in love with the vibe of the place and the people. You're not going to find the biggest name artists there, but you'll find a lot of solid tattooers there. The guy who runs it, Shakeem, is just a high energy guy that's real genuine. I like the size of the show. Now he lets me do seminars each year. So I get to test out new seminar ideas there. And I don't know, man. I like the show. I like the town of Huntsville. It's kind of like when you go to Texas and you run into Austin, you're like, wow, what's this place doing in Texas? That's the way I feel about Huntsville in Alabama. It's just really a cool little town. I don't even know how big it is. I call it a town. It's a city. I mean, there's probably 500,000 people there if I had to guess. It's pretty big.
Nice. Jillian was listed there.
Oh, is she going this year? Sweet.
Yeah, at least she's listed.
Yeah. Nice.
It's crazy years. Who knows? Presumably, that's awesome.
Yeah. Bigger names that are there each year, that almost every year. Euless Blair is mostly always there, and a lot of people follow Euless. Matt Stubbley is normally there. BJ Betts was there a few years back.
I love BJ. Stubbley does great work. Stubbley does a lot of bird tattoos too.
Yeah.
I look at this stuff. It's great. I love this guy's work. Speaking of the bird tattoos.
Yeah. Which one? Was that Stubbley?
Yeah, this is Matt Stubbley.
Yeah. Yeah, and so he does a great show as well down in Biloxi, the Due South Tattoo Expo. I was just talking the other day. I did a podcast with Frank Linatra, and we were talking about how that was the last show that we did before COVID, and it was literally like the first weekend of March. And we were thinking mid-tattoo, we were just going to get shut down. The whole country was shut down. We had artists that had flown in. Like I was splitting a booth with my buddy Howie Tattoos, who's really good. And he was like, I don't know how I'm going to get back to California. Like they thought the flights were going to be canceled, and it was a crazy weekend, but a lot of fun. It was exciting.
Nice. Yeah. Let's look at Howie's work here a little bit.
Yeah. Howie's he's really developed a unique style, and he's become one of my good friends in the tattoo industry. Just as soon as you meet Howie, you feel like you've known him for 10 years, and he's just always smiling, great guy. Spent a lot of years, he's really open about it. He spent a lot of years as a pretty mediocre tattooer, kind of the same way that I feel like I did. I not wasted a lot of time, but I didn't know what was possible in tattooing for a lot of years, and I don't think he did either. And he ended up landing with Phil Garcia, and he credits Phil with helping him to develop kind of a unique style. And it's funny because they're both doing roses mostly, but they do such different styles of roses. Yeah, Phil. I've never had Phil on the show, unfortunately. I talked to him at most every show that I crossed paths with him, but that guy works like a maniac.
He does.
He does like 13-hour tattoos every day. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like you never get a break. In fact, the longest conversation I've ever had with him was at the airport in Richmond, leaving that convention. We just happened to be at the same gate, and I got to hang out with him for a couple of hours there. But otherwise, it's just quick kind of, passing conversations. Yeah,
he did an amazing talk at one of those Richmond shows.
Did he?
One of the education, the academy, the Richmond Academy. Yeah, it was out of control.
Yeah, man. He's like, and he's one of those guys that a lot of times you see people, they do so much to their photos online that you see him in real life and you're disappointed. And with Phil, as nice as his tattoos look online, to see them in progress or when he's working on them, it's way more impressive.
100%.
They're so good. It's hard to get a photograph that shows how good they are.
Yeah, no, Phil's he's pretty out of control.
Yeah, I hope we get him on. Have you ever done an interview with him, either through Reinventing or Tattoo Now or anything?
I haven't. Like I said, I did. There was the one at the Richmond convention, and but
that was a seminar.
So no, the answer to that is no, I haven't. I think that guy has. I know that he's done a chapter inside of Reinventing.
Yeah, and they've done a collaborative piece or two, haven't they?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so.
Looks like we have Gene on the line here.
Awesome. Hey, man. How are you?
Hey, Gene, how goes it?
Hey, sorry, I'm a little early.
Oh, that's
I
okay.
realized I would just jump right in.
It's all good. It's we were just talking about how getting us on the Roku TV stuff isn't going to change our production schedule. And no, it will, but we'll have a waiting room someday. And
oh, nice waiting rooms.
So Gene, meet Jake. Jake, meet Gene.
Hey, Jake.
Hey,
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
And,
We were just looking through some of your work before you came on.
Yeah, I was watching it.
Yeah,
I was creeping and trolling you guys.
Yeah.
Very fun. So, Gene, do you remember where we met? Was it at the New York convention forever ago, or?
Yeah, it was a long time ago. It was an old New York convention.
Yeah, at the Roseland. I remember every time I think of it's either 16 horses or a derivative.
Yeah, 16 horsepower, I think.
Yeah.
Did I turn you on to that?
Completely.
I see.
Like forever ago.
Yeah, I don't even remember. It's definitely like a decade ago. I was still at Tattoo Culture, right?
Ah, yes. Okay, yeah, Tattoo Culture, sure. Yep.
Yeah.
I know. This is a 16 horsepower, Jake. It's a rock band, I guess from New York. Were they out of New York? Or
no, he's in the Midwest somewhere. I want to say it's like maybe Colorado.
Got it. And it was
it's like a goth folk industrial rock. I don't even know what to call it, but it's cool stuff. Yeah, it's like dark folk music.
Dark folk music, man.
Yeah,
all right.
Kinda.
I'm intrigued.
That's weird.
16 horsepower.
Yeah. But
I actually tattooed that guy.
No shit.
Yeah, David Eugene Edwards. A couple of times I tattooed him.
Awesome. I love that. I guess what I was thinking New York because maybe we were talking about Firewater and who's from New York. But anyways,
that's another band. Okay, I thought you were talking about
more
like
bands and
booze or something
stuff.
like that. All
right. So Gene, why don't we? Well, do you want to just start from the beginning? I'm not sure how many times you've like laid out your origin story, but it would be fun to introduce you to folks and hear how you started.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it couldn't have been forever ago, but it wasn't yesterday.
No, it's like 16 years now.
Awesome.
Something like that, yeah. And I don't know, where do you want to start? Let's my mom and dad, you see, there's a little, and then
what was your did you have an art background before you started tattooing, or?
So I moved to New York in '94 to go to art school, and then dropped out after a year, and then was just trying to be an artist, but working jobs, odd jobs here and there. I mean, I guess I was an artist in that I was doing art, and I had like shown paintings and shows, and I had a solo show in the Bowery in the city before that, but I wouldn't say I was like a working artist.
You had a show as a painter?
As a painter, yeah, it was a painting show. It was like all these paintings of raw meat, and then like I was into doing these big elongated canvases with these tiny little realistically painted figures, and they'd be like this big and sort of in different perspective in space, but then the background would just be sort of like a wash of color, but they were like oil paintings, and that was fun. It was a weird show. Sold a bunch, and then
and then moved. So did you move? I mean, your work right now is representational. Well, just a bit that I've seen was kind of has a lot of floral kind of work.
Yeah, mostly it's flowers and birds these days.
Yeah. Is that just what you're into, or is it just what?
It's just what happened. Like I don't know. Like it's not like I'm not sitting around drawing and painting flowers and birds like in my free time, but my style of tattooing, it just sort of gravitated towards that. And honestly, like I mean, if all I did was flowers and birds, I'm fine with that too.
Yeah. It's I mean, obviously you've got a painting background. This piece in particular is super painterly. What do you as far as this style of tattoo, and a lot of people will talk about watercolor tattoos. I like painterly tattoos better than watercolor tattoos. But what do you think are the biggest challenges with it, and where do you say? Because a lot of people try this style and really don't pull it off very well. I think it's something you have to have a really great control over on edges, on saturation, and where you do and don't saturate. And what do you see as the challenges of the style of tattoo?
I mean, obviously, it's the same challenges as any tattoo. Like stylistically, I don't think a tattoo makes a difference. Like the technique of tattooing someone doesn't change because the style does. So you either put color there or you don't. Like it's the same as you're doing. Like if I'm going to do a traditional puma, or a tiger, you either put color there or you don't. But
I mean, some of the big differences here, though, is if you went through and took a traditional approach and outlined all of these shapes, then you completely changed the dynamic of what that tattoo is, right? So
well, sure, but if you look at and this one is like a giant cover up too, so this isn't probably the best example, but like just because there's not an outline, like if you look at any of the work, like this one with the black, I mean, this was I would call that more graphic than watercolor, but I think it's more about contrast than it is about like putting an outline on it. And this one has big bold outlines, so when you need it, you put it there, just like you would do if you want a softer background in a portrait, you're going to not use outlines on it. If you want to have it be a little bit more contrast, you're going to put a dark color up against a light color. So like here, these flowers, they say the yellow rose that's there. There's no outlines on that yellow, but the black of that leaf that's behind it is the outline. It's the contrast there. It's that gray leaf that passes over it makes the flower look behind it. But say like the little blossom that's right underneath that, it's too light of a color, and I don't want to put a black background there, so that needs a little bit of an outline. It's just a contrast. It's like light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. Now that said, and having been doing my style of tattooing for a decade at this point, I have the benefit of going back in the early days. Like Gabe will know when I think when me and Gabe met, I don't think I had a name for this. Like I remember like people asking like, well, what do you call this? And there weren't hashtags, first of all, back then, like an old man here. But I didn't call it watercolor. I lost my train of thought where I was going there. So Gabe knows, like I didn't have a name for it. It wasn't called watercolor tattoos, but I was still applying the same principles of traditional tattoos to like abstract is what I would call these. These are abstract tattoos because it's still, I've had too much coffee. I need to go back and clean up what I was saying. Right. In hindsight, some of these tattoos, like I haven't seen this one now, but I do have customers that come back now 10 years later. And just like any traditional tattoos, there's certain colors that don't work well without having an outline. Say orange. Orange is the bane of, I would say, every tattooer's existence. It is a horrible color. It doesn't have any longevity. Its UV disintegration is almost like instantaneous. So like now in hindsight, I have these pieces that I see will come back, and there's like some that have an orange flower or even orange that's inside a red poppy, where it goes from red to orange to like a yellow, is that whole orange part has, but that's not a matter of technique. That's just a matter of like,
the materials.
And
learning like I shouldn't use that color in that way.
Right.
I've got a couple of comments here. Hunter Young in the chat room, who's been around for a while. It's awesome. Well, for one, it's like, what's up, guys? Big fan of Jake's work. Are you familiar with Thomas Carley? But we'll check him out later. He's got some thoughts about what you were saying, Gene. let's see if I can interpret it. I think a good way of understanding his thoughts is that it's not necessarily that there is a specific way to approach watercolor. It's that he has that foundation to where it's easy for him to understand on the spot, but he doesn't feel like there's an absolutely unique approach to it, or at least that's how I interpret his explanation, at least so far. His work is very unique. And then one last comment, Hunter says, it feels like a watercolor / trash polka mix-up.
Some of that, yeah, sure. I didn't know that term trash polka for so long. People were throwing it around. I was like, what does that even mean? I still don't know where the term came from. Now I know what it means, but I still don't know where that term came from.
Vulcan Simone, right? Or were they the OG? Who, Gene, where's the origin of trash polka?
Trash polka was, it's specifically the Buena Vista Tattoo Club. And they would early on literally go after people because I don't know if they copywrote the term trash polka, but that was what they were calling their specific style. I don't know. I mean, if everybody, I don't know if it's a result of the world we're in, or if it's just our human nature to want to put all of these things in certain pockets. But I don't care what you call it. It's either a good tattoo or a bad tattoo. You know, there's a lot of people trying to do traditional tattoos that look like shit too. And it's just a matter of practice and perseverance and looking at everything. You know, like my style of tattooing isn't a watercolor tattoo. It's a Gene Coffey tattoo. And it's instantly recognizable, not because I'm following some cookie cutter formula on how to do a tattoo. I learned how to do tattoos and then tried to find my own voice.
Right. Yeah, so, I think that's a perfect way to put it. I've been working on and presented a seminar probably 6 or 8 times now that I'm constantly that's constantly evolving and changing. And I call the seminar "Find Your Style." And the first slide basically is separating your style from tattoo categories or categories of any type of art, because to your point, your style is something that it's so much more personal. And for me, it's just the way that you obviously the way that you make marks, and then also how you question what you've done, how you question what's working and what's not, how you relate that to whatever you feel like the series of principles or a hierarchy of ideas in your head, and how you represent those things. So, how you question where that came from. Yeah, but yeah, so I think that's a good way to put it, your explanation.
Yeah, I think, and to sort of focus on the foundations first is the way I came about it. Like, and maybe that's because I had a traditional apprenticeship where like you had to learn how to do everything, you know, text and tribal and Japanese and black and gray and blah 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 blah. But building up that sort of like foundation of how to do stuff then allows you the freedom to explore different ways to do it, and your own style, and also giving yourself permission to do like bad tattoos. Like, dude, I did some like, and not bad, like, I don't know what I'm doing, but to experiment and be like, I'm going to try to do this in a way that isn't normal. You know, one early on, what really drove me was like pissing other tattoo artists off with a style that was so like outside of their comfort zone that it made me really excited to do more of them because it was pissing people off. And I think there's something to that. I mean, you're either pissing people off because it's fucking awful and you're destroying people's lives by like ruining their skin, or you're pissing them off because you're fucking doing something really astounding, you know? And I think that if you're doing the astounding stuff and you feel really moved by your work to piss people off with it, then go a whole hog and just do it, you know? And so that said, one of the best advice that I got early on how to sort of solidify my style, Gabe knows Noon. I don't know if you know.
Oh yeah, Noon's amazing.
He's a French tattoo artist that was a guest artist in our shop when I was sort of still apprenticing and coming into my own. But one of his advice was that if you want to do a style of tattooing, like whether, and mine was, I want to do my stuff. I want to do the shit that I'm drawing in my sketchbook. I don't want to do this walk-in stuff. And if I was, lucky enough to have a shop that I had the leniency to pick and choose what work I did or didn't do. But he was like, if you want to do this style of tattooing that you're trying to do, then you need to go through your portfolio and take out everything else. Eliminate everything else. The good tattoos, the best. I had pieces that were like, like I was so proud, big back piece. That's like, realistic color stuff, but it wasn't in line with where I wanted to go with my work. So I had to stop presenting that to people, and then stop even taking jobs that weren't on my focus. And like I said, I was lucky that I was able to do that, because a lot of people are working in a shop where you don't have that leniency. You have to do whatever comes in the door. But if you want to develop as an artist artistically and your own personal vision, I think that was one of the biggest steps in helping me get where I am today.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. A really practical way to kind of implement that. Gabe, earlier we were talking about Euless Blair when we were talking about the Space City show, and he, in an interview that I did with him once, I was asking how he kind of developed that style and how he convinced people to get those tattoos. And he was not booking a lot at conventions. And he said, what I would do and what I suggest everyone do is completely finish drawings that you want to tattoo. Don't just do sketches, do full on color renderings, put them out at your booth with flat rates or whatever. And when you're at a show, when people are flipping through sketchbooks or like tracing paper that's pinned to, whatever, and they see like a fully rendered, really well done drawing, and it's like, wow, I could. The thing, his point was, the client typically can't put together what the finished tattoo is going to look like from a red pencil sketch or whatever. They need to see, and this is Ulyss's work here. When they see that, if they see a drawing of this piece that's completely rendered and colored, they can visualize it on their body, and they're much more likely to get it. And so I thought that was a really kind of great practical way to implement what you're talking about.
I'd also, well, in keeping with that, one of my biggest pet peeves about conventions, here goes my old ranting gene now, is that, so like I don't particularly like doing conventions anymore at all, for multiple reasons. But one of the things that I would like to see happen that maybe would make conventions more appealing to the general public is that if I'm a customer and I want to go to a tattoo convention to get a tattoo from someone, I'm not going to probably be able to do that if I just show up at a convention, because all of the artists that are going to be the good artists that I want to get tattooed from are going to be booked up. They're going to have already booked well in advance, most of them. So what I've been trying to do is leave at least one day, usually Saturday, completely open, nothing. Have a couple of drawings that are available, or just do walk-ups, because I feel like it's sort of a, like, why would I go to a convention then? Like, as a normal person, just wondering, curious, and it's boring. So, but that said, now there's not really much of a crowd to get those tattoos. Like I think the forum is sort of, it's eating itself at this point.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
I mean, you have the internet. I don't need to, I don't need to go talk to you guys at a convention, because here we are. I don't need to go look at your portfolios, because I can just open my phone, which is, holy fuck, that's amazing. But I don't know. And honestly, like, conventions are just played out. Like, if you've been to one, you've been to everyone in the whole fucking world, Well, except for, there's like, there's a couple out there I know of that are, the best of the best, hosted by some people.
But
I'm not hosting conventions anymore. I work in a city in Richmond.
But that was a different convention, It
was a gathering.
And it did things differently. And I did one in my favorite tattoo convention I've ever worked at was in France. like a few years ago, and it was in Marcillac, France. And it's this tiny little fucking it's like, I don't know, 100 fucking people live there in this medieval village. And they host this jazz festival every year. And this gallery hosted a tattoo convention there where it went on for the whole month. And it just had basically 8 different tattoo artists, 8 or 10 of us that rotated out. You'd work for like a week and then somebody else would come take your table. And you'd have you get to put a little art show behind you. And it was fucking amazing, and each tattoo artist was very specifically, it was like Noon, Caustic, those 2 twins, fuck, I don't remember their names, but they're all crazy people. They're madmen. They're all fucking Europeans, and their styles are insane, graphic stuff, abstract stuff. And I wish there was more stuff like that. And it was more interactive, and it wasn't just, like a burlesque show and a freak show and then the best of day contest, which is great. And we need that too. We need to support people's work, but also if you're going to have a convention, I wish it was entertaining. I got to get off of this rant, or I'm going to do this for a whole fucking hour.
Yeah. Well, okay. So we have some questions from the chat room for you here, about conventions and stuff. So let's see. Sorry, it's skipping around here. Drunken Yoda says thumbs up to the stream. So that's good. We're not losing people. And then let's see. The question is, do you think there's a concern for artists that they won't be able to set out their art and then sell it in time to be able to finish the tattoo? That is, they know a lot of artists that will book prior, that are booking larger pieces because they have concerns that they won't be able to finish it for competing.
For competitions and things.
Sorry, I was like,
well, that I mean, that's a good point. That is something. That's a reason a lot of people do conventions is for competitions. And I remember back in Jeff Gogway's seminar, Gabe, that he did at the Worldwide Conference, he talked about how he was so focused on winning competitions for so long and being the best. And there's no doubt that there's that mindset, and people feel like the conventions is still kind of their opportunity to stack up trophies or whatever.
Sure. So you just need to figure out what's more important, right? Winning in the competition for a piece that you set up ahead of time, or meeting new people and doing a piece of artwork that you're looking for, particularly and not compete.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I was lucky enough, everybody hated my style early on that it would never win a competition anyways. So
I mean, also just to be clear, I remember at the Venetian tattoo gathering, probably the most prestigious. It was fucking a Venetian palace.
Yep. Yeah, and
awesome. we pared it down. We're only gonna do one contest. I don't know if I'm giving away convention secrets or not, but on fucking Saturday, I'm going through my checklist of shit I'm supposed to do, and I'm like, oh, tomorrow there's a contest. Yeah, okay. And I guess after that we give away the award, and then award. Oh shit! We don't have an award for one contest. We pared it down to one contest, and it was But that said, it's true.
Running the streets of Venice, trying to find a cool something you can give away.
It was out of one of those movie. After it was the convention promoters after school special. But that said, it was cool. It was we wanted to make sure that it was cool. I think Paul Booth actually.
He did, yeah.
For a badass tattoo.
Yeah, I was in the middle of interviewing him whenever you announced that he won, and we had to. It threw off my interview. I appreciated that.
But so Gene, what do you think about the competitions then? I guess, or is that like you were saying, you were you weren't winning them, so fuck it, who gives a shit?
I think it's a very important part. Competition breeds improvement. So I personally I'm hard enough on myself that. I'm glad my customers don't go up there and embarrass me. So that's my biggest competition is, and probably for always will be, myself. And I have and I think it's a healthy love-hate relationship that I think every artist should have with their work on a personal level, and not be too dependent on the competitions and how many likes you get on Instagram, and just to be comfortable doing what you're doing. and confident and pushing yourself to do better. You know, I'm having a hard time right now. Like, how do I fucking do better tattoos now? You know, like I think we all plateau at some point. And then at that point, you either slide backwards or you got to get better at it. And that's my competition, you know.
Yeah.
So just briefly back to Hunter's point, he's also just concerned in general, regardless of the competition, you know, creating, you know, artwork to do at conventions with enough time. I mean, I think really just create the artwork so that you can do it in say 3 or 4 hours, you know.
You have to know your own pace and what you're capable of doing, you know. Like when I was 10, you know, in my early 30s, I could fucking bang out, you know, half a sleeve in like 5 hours. Now, you know, you're lucky to get like, you know, 3 days and I could probably finish it. But at a convention, you're going to have all of the extra, you know, it's not like working in a shop. You have all the extra distractions. You're going to have people stopping at your booth that want to ask you a question every 5 minutes. You're going to be uncomfortable. You know, you're going to have the customers going to be less comfortable than they are. You know, it's probably going to be freezing. Somebody's going to be shivering and all of that shit. Like what normally would take you maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours, add 2 hours on it. Otherwise, yeah, you're not going to finish it.
Yeah. Now you're also. Oh, is my computer working?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Okay. Now you were also, when you were doing the conventions, you were going back year after year. I remember seeing you in New York every year. Presumably, I don't know if Richmond was the same, but I think I've seen you there once or twice. You know, so I suppose in some ways that small piece that starts off as a walk up on the Saturday afternoon, you know, then turns into that Friday or the Sunday appointment for the full day, you know, masterpiece or whatever that you have time for.
I do like going back to the same conventions year after year. I think you build better relationships with the people there, like your fellow tattoo artists, but also then you can start to build a client base in some city you don't live in, and work on extended pieces.
Sure. Okay, let's see here. We've got a feisty one here. No, he actually says he doesn't want to sound argumentative, and I haven't even read it yet. So let's see here. I think for some people like myself, this is himself, I like going through the internal monologue of self-improvement, but have that physical representation of competitions is something that is motivating. I think I don't mean to, like, I'm a fucking weirdo. The balance to my story on that is I didn't think I actually ever cared about competitions. I've seen enough rigged competitions and I've lost enough that I never cared. But I'll tell you, the year that I sat out, you know, I didn't have a booth or anything at Hill City and other people were winning, I was like, I gotta fucking get a booth at Hill City next year. I gotta get some badass tattooers in there to represent. No, you know, okay. So I don't want to come off as like completely anti-competitive. And to your point, Gene, it is actually very motivating to do your best. To continue his comments, I also don't want to come off like I'm arguing. Haha, just a different perspective. Oh, are you competing for airtime, Hunter? Okay. Okay, there we go. That was his comments on it.
No, competition is, I am a very competitive person, which is probably why I also have a little bit of I don't want to enter art competitions because art is such a personal thing to me. But like, I don't know, you get me on any game and I'm a monster, you know, like I will fucking go for your throat. You don't even want to know the stuff that comes out of my mouth during a Fortnite game, you know, like
yeah, for sure.
Magic the Gathering, you know. Like,
oh my God, I was talking to an artist yesterday, Joe. I don't know exactly what he could say or can't say about it, but he's working on a project with one of the, I believe one of the creators of Magic the Gathering, the first edition.
Oh, but that's fun.
I do love who else? Cecil Porter is another guy who's been doing a lot of fantasy art. He's a tattooer, you know, fantasy art kind of a person.
Yeah, cool.
But so let's see. Let's one thing that you said earlier that all of a sudden I was like, oh my goodness, I can't. You actually had a traditional apprenticeship, you said?
Yeah.
Holy shit! Can we just talk about that? Can we get like a documented traditional apprenticeship? I mean, half the time people, you know, get thrown to the wolves or they have, you know, some okay stories. But to hear somebody talk about how they had a traditional apprenticeship, I'd love to just kind of hear about it.
Yeah, sure.
And how did you get it? Like start there from like where you like, how did you get your traditional apprenticeship?
Well, so my job prior to tattooing, I used to work in a kitchen store, and I designed kitchens and sold appliances and did art on the side. So then when I wanted to start tattooing, basically one of my friends convinced me I should do it, and tried finding an apprenticeship by going to all the shops in the city and asking them, will you apprentice me? And they were all, and this is the days of Miami Ink. When it was on, it was like maybe the second season of Miami Ink. So it was just this this influx of people wanting to tattoo, who weren't, and I wasn't covered in tattoos. I think at that point I had done like half of my sleeve maybe, and that's about it, like one or two little things. So yeah, kept going every week trying to find someone who would apprentice me. Nobody would do it. And then my friend who was getting tattooed, who I was drawing designs for, sort of talked me up to the artist. And then I got my foot in the door that way. But otherwise, I don't know how people get an apprenticeship.
Sure.
I like the way everybody says, you go get tattooed from somebody, you keep getting tattooed from them, and then hopefully eventually they'll apprentice you. Which is such a shady and shitty way to do it. But
well, I was listening to an interview with Good Time Charlie, and it's amazing. I mean, I can't say come off like he does. You got to watch the interview. But he's like, I didn't ask him questions, and they're just simple questions. I'm like, why won't you answer my questions? I'm paying you. I'm getting tattooed. I know how to do this shit. I'm gonna do this shit. Just answer my questions. It's but it's obviously such a crazy world too, right? I guess the other. Okay, so wait, let's stick with the apprenticeship.
Okay,
so you got your shoe in because you were drawing designs for a friend.
So then I showed him work. And he had already seen some of the stuff because he was doing the designs on my friend. And then that sort of was how it started. So he called me in, and then I started started apprenticing, which was
what was that? Was it first day of the kid fucking, starts?
Well, I was still working in my job. So I had to go to work 5 days a week, 6 days a week, and then after work, go to the tattoo shop and try to watch him tattoo. And it mostly just was me cleaning tubes and setting up and break down stations.
And how much was watching? Were we watching an hour a day? Were we watching
whatever I could,
whatever
I could, if I got off of work at 6 o'clock and it took me maybe 45 minutes to get from Manhattan to Brooklyn, and he only worked till 8, I get an hour. Then you go on your days off and go the whole day. But it was as much as you could, And
one of the you're scratching your microphone, I think. It might be
sorry.
Yeah, it might be the
scarf.
Could be. One of the tasks I think is perfect for apprentices these days is the putting the streaming camera on the tattoo. So if we're streaming tattoos, it's like, wait, you should be looking at this tattoo from start to finish anyways. Put the fucking camera in front of it and answer people's questions. Not technical questions necessarily, but that's cool. Okay, so you were, and about how long did that take? So were you, doing the preliminary work?
So it was traditional in the sense of I learned how to make needles, solder needles, and all the traditional things you would need to know, which are sort of antiquated now.
Did you make inks? And
we didn't make ink.
Okay.
It was mostly just Starbright, I think, was what he was stuck on. That was
but so the slippery slope to pre-mades was already started, but you were making a lot of needles. It must have been how many years did you make needles for?
It was a couple years, I think.
Yeah.
Well, so my apprenticeship went south. very quickly.
It was a traditional apprenticeship.
Yes, within 6 months, we wanted to murder each other. Within a year, it was done. Like the relationship. But I mean, I liked making needles. I liked in the sense of like, I like that I know how to make needles. I should say that, but I fucking hate the drudgery of making them. Like thank God for disposable tubes and needles and the whole, like, my God, that changed everything.
I mean, I was listening to Guy chatting the other day, and I mean, just the difference between, like you were saying, making your needles these days, and now there's like a pen that's got a battery with like all of your needle arrangements and cartridges. Like, and it runs the same. You don't have to be a mechanic. I imagine that you started on. I mean, clearly you started on coil machines. Did you?
Right. How to build machines, how to tune machines.
Awesome.
And, still have a closet full of machines and parts and shit. But I mean, now it's just rotary. So
how'd you find that switch? Was that like a tough switch to make over, or was there a reason that motivated? Wait. We're still in apprentice. Okay, so like most traditional apprenticeships, after 6 months, tensions, go fuck yourself, or some degree. I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but then you're kind of on your own into the New York City tattoo scene. But you're kind of like
he left the shop, opened his own, and then it was just me on my own.
You stayed. So this tattoo culture is just when you stayed?
Yes.
Okay, cool, awesome. Yeah. And so from there, you kind of went right into shop owning then.
Right. Well, no. So I stayed in tattoo culture for like almost 10 years. Okay.
That's why it felt like it for me.
Yeah.
With all due respect to the owner, I have no idea. But point is, and you're this is where you were catching up with like Noon and then other guest artists. I think George was there.
Toss a sweatshirt on quickly because
yeah, sure thing.
Freezing in here.
While you do that, I'll read back to
please.
the comments here. Let's see. So we've got it's crazy how that's such a unique experience to get a traditional experience with apprenticeships. It's who knows, man, it's crazy. I've seen and heard so many different stories that like you were saying, like the traditional apprenticeship, kind of in the context that you learn how to do some of those, vital build your own things. But like a traditional apprenticeship isn't like it in a like a blacksmith or something, right? Where it's like there's people that actually know how to. Anyways, okay. So let's see. So it is unique. Let's see other comments. I feel like I have a relatively similar mindset. So it's interesting to hear you speak. I'm translating. How do you feel about those? How do you feel about those tattoo shows like Miami Ink that you mentioned?
I love it. I don't watch them anymore, but I watch them then. I mean, anybody who's working in the tattoo industry today has to at least give at least 40% credit to those shows for your income, if not more. Like it was a proliferation of tattooing in pop culture that allows us now to expand the art form to, now people look at it as art. You go back 10, 15, 20 years ago, and it was still just this like shitty little outsider, like scumbag kind of art form, punks and thugs and criminals and blah, blah, blah. And it's, even though it wasn't, it was still the general pop culture perception of it as that. I mean, look at like the bad guys back then, like fucking Guns N' Roses, Axl Rose was like the baddest of bad boys. He had like 3 tattoos and it was like, oh my God, he's awful. Now like it's everywhere, and it started with those shows. So I mean, I think they're. I have a lot of friends who've been on them. I have no qualms with them.
Yeah, I think. Can you guys hear me?
We can. You're back.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, my router just completely went out. I had to reboot it. Yeah, I agree, and I think what's funny is if you were tattooing back in that time, it was harder for us to take those shows seriously, or even today to give them credit, because you discounted them so quickly when they came along. It was just like, how silly is that? What if we set up a camera here? Well, that's ridiculous. And so we discounted them for so long, and then they've proven to exactly. I agree completely with what you said. They've proven over the years to have been so transformational in what we do. They gave, the mistake that I made is I wasn't giving it I wasn't thinking about it from a client's perspective. I was thinking about it from a tattooer's perspective. A client, especially someone maybe who's in there, if you think about your clientele today versus your clientele in 2005, you weren't tattooing professionals, you weren't tattooing older people, and I think a lot of that is that it gave people kind of a peek into what the process is like. It made tattoo shops a little less scary. So like, oh, there's an actual consultation process, and they might ask me questions, and this is what I can expect to have to know whenever I get there, or here's what I can leave in the hands of the tattooer. And I think that it pulled back the curtain on tattoo shops from the tattoo collectors or clients perspective, and made them so much more approachable. And I wasn't considering it from that perspective at all.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things with like an apprenticeship. It's one of my pet peeves that I've had for quite a few years, is that the general tattoo environment is not very welcoming to outsiders, to people that are different. So like myself, I was this skinny little like artsy fartsy white kid who just wanted to get an apprenticeship, and it's very dismissive of me as that. Now, if I was like and I live in New York City, like I'm like, and by all accounts, I fit the model. I'm like white male, middle aged, like I'm every tattoo artist, right? But if I was like a gay, black, transgender woman living in New Mexico and I want to get an apprenticeship, or I just want to get a tattoo, going into a tattoo shop is fucking terrifying, and to get through. So that's one of my things with the shows, is that it starts to open the doors to people to see there's different ways to get tattoos. First of all, there's different attitudes towards tattooing. Like when you watch the reality competition shows, it's reality, but each one of those people are very specifically like characterized. They all work different ways. They all have different attitudes toward tattooing. They all have different styles, and that's how we all are now. And we are allowed to live in this environment now where we can have these like very linear styles and singular focus, whereas before the shops were. I'm going off on a tangent.
No, absolutely. Right.
But I think that the shows allow us all to be much more open and welcoming to yes, like senior citizens. Like, dude, like one of my first customers that I tattooed a lot of stuff on, this guy Alan. I don't know where he is now, but Alan was like, he had to be like 60 something, and he was like a fucking gorilla. The dude is like, like a hair sweater, like just gray, thick, like everywhere. And he'd never had a tattoo in his life, and I'd been tattooed maybe like 4 or 5 years at that point. And he had been watching the tattoo shows, and he started wanting to get a tattoo, so he came in, he got like, I don't know, it was like a Hanna-Barbera character or something on his arm, And then like a month later, he came back to get another one. But he kept getting all these different, like each one we did was a different style, because he would see the show, and the shows would introduce him to like, because in his head, all he saw was like 1990s fucking swirly pointy tribal, and he didn't understand that like as many different artists, there's that many different kinds of art, and then eventually, dude, we tattooed his back, his chest, both arms. And then, God bless him, he would shave himself so he could show the tattoos. And I don't know what happened to Alan, but
it used to kill me whenever.
He specifically said, I watched these shows and it made me really want to get a tattoo. And this is like a senior citizen, old Jewish guy from New York, like. If that doesn't credit the shows for something, like I don't know what the fuck.
I mean, it used to amaze me to hear tattooers complain. They're like, I keep getting people coming in and they want sleeves in a day, and I get mad. And don't you know this and don't you know that? I'm like, why don't you just send them over to us? I'll patiently explain to them how, it might take a little longer. And I get it. It's frustrating to have to deal with so many people wanting a $5,000 to $10,000 tattoo. I mean, whew, good Lord.
And that was the tattooer's perspective on those shows at that point. That was the common thing, was just like, what, they're setting unrealistic expectations. All this stuff is edited.
It's fucking TV. It's not designed to set proper expectations, but to Gene's point, it piques their interest enough to learn about it.
Right. It's entertaining. I think I lost you guys.
Oh, you're back.
Yeah, you're
back.
You're
saying it's entertaining. You were just about to say something empathetic.
Yeah, and then I said like the most prolific thing after that. So
I'm glad it was you. I thought my internet went out again. I was like, oh no, what's wrong? I got to call AT&T.
Okay, so let's see. So the reaction to your attitude on the TV says, Hunter says, well, that's interesting. I feel the exact same, but I never hear artists that have been tattooing as long as you have actually appreciate the shows. There's definitely lots of ups and downs and benefits to the shows, but they are massive for building the industry.
Yeah.
And again, if you're looking for like educational content or whatever, like you shouldn't be going to TV. If you're looking for fun stuff,
the internet now. I mean, this is what I would ask about what an apprenticeship would entail now. Is much like a college education, is that what is an apprenticeship going to offer someone that YouTube won't? Like, why do I need to go to some guy to have him like fucking slave me for a year just so I can get the mystery of tattooing taught to me? Like, so what do we as artists want to pass on to the next generation of tattoo artists? And I don't think it's technique. I don't think it's skill, because anybody can learn that shit. You can go on the internet and within a month you can figure out how to do a tattoo as clean as the cleanest person, if you really want to. But how do we teach the creativity, morality?
Like, what do you have to say?
Yes.
Yeah.
What was one of the things Guy used to say was, you want to learn how to become a better artist, learn how to become a better person. He may or may not have taken it from somebody, but I always dug that one, especially because you can see people that they can get really good technically, but it is about as much what does an artist have to say as much as like how technical can they say or express it.
Yeah. Steve Houston has a great quote that I use in one of my seminars, that it's we're editorialists, not journalists. We're paid for our opinion, in our marks and our and that's the way you have to think as an artist. You're not simply like reporting the news. You're paid to have an opinion on the news, So,
I do hate to
cut
it short, but we do, because we could clearly talk forever. But Gene, you will be back on I think we're doing
we'll do
like a full featured interview.
It's fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, man, I'd love to do one at some point too. I think there's a lot of stuff that you and I think could dive into on my channel as well. So maybe we can
I got a lot of opinions.
Perfect. That's what we love. Well, cool.
Hey,
cool.
So let's Gene, I'm gonna spotlight you if you want to let people know the best way to get in touch with you. If
just the website,
but you can't say just my website because
it's gmcoffey.com.
And what kind of tattoos you wanted? Are you still accepting clients? People can get shoot you an email.
I'm a horrible self promoter.
Okay.
Well, there's like a form on there. You go on the website. There's a form that you fill out for tattoo applications, and I actually just started booking again for like this summer. So this week is a good time to do it if you want to.
Are you had any conventions this year? Or,
I think I'm gonna do the Richmond one again. I know he. I like that one a lot. I like.
Me too.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a good vibe there. I like the outside stuff. They have all the other stuff going on, and
good mix of people too. A lot of old timers, and then just some of the best tattooers on the planet.
And Jesse's amazing. He's such a good guy.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah, he put his dates right over Paradise, so I'm like, I'm gonna go Richmond instead.
Yeah. It's also the same weekend as the New York convention, and I just I got an invitation to that one and had to turn it down. And I've never done that. I've never.
And see, and I think so. This is also one of the things why I think conventions are done.
Yeah,
is there's too many.
Too many.
You know, there's too many, and now like
everyone's rescheduling over each other.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah.
But that's for another day, gentlemen.
Yeah, no, that's
Absolutely.
right.
Awesome.
Another conversation.
Cheers. We'll catch
Nice
up,
to meet you, man.
Thanks again.